Yeah. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated. Yeah.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Totem Podcast. Like always, we got Eric with us today on the show.
How's it going, guys? Just remember, we're on YouTube and Spotify, all as the Totem Podcast. So make sure, especially on YouTube, to subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications, so that way we can keep bringing you guests, especially like the one we got today. So just hit that notification bell to be notified every time we got a new one on. And as always, just remember, if we bring you value, if we made you think, made you laugh in any sort of way, we'd appreciate it if you can at least share it with one other person.
No, yeah, cool. So yeah, the guest we have today, like you said, Eric, he's a very, very special guest for us. When I hear the word branding, I think of him. I've been diving into a couple of videos of his stuff, so I hear branding and it just reminds me of you. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about branding. Tell me how important is it for you?
Well, for me, it's become much more important than I thought it was going to be. And I, from the very beginning of my agency's existence, pretended like I was a big company. So I bought as many polos as I could afford, which was 2. I bought as many branded hats as I could afford, which was 2. So I had 2 colors, and I mixed and matched in the beginning. In the beginning, I could afford magnets for the side of my car, and I could afford. But with other stuff, for me now, it's become I am the brand. Like I have to wear this now. If I show up at an insurance event and I don't wear this, people have no idea who I am. If I wear this, or anyone else on my team that's wearing my brand, everybody instantly knows who they are, who they're with. And so brand is a powerful thing, because subliminally people start to trust a brand that they know more than they will trust a brand they've never heard of. So branding for me is, everything I have is branded. My kids are branded, my car is branded, every piece of clothing for the most part. Like you choose, you're gonna wear Nike, you're gonna wear Guess, you're gonna wear Gucci, or you're gonna wear your brand. So I choose to wear my brand.
No, I think that's important, because your brand can make you, get you, like you said, get you known and stuff. And I'm just, when I listen to that like concept you had on some videos, it's like, because I do that. So I got the hat, and it's like I got the water bottle, I got laptops, everything. I got the chain, I got the shirt, it's everything. And so it's like but when you broke it down, it was just like, it kind of hit me a little bit different too, because it was like, I was trying to do it, but I wasn't like thinking it maybe to the level that you do it.
Well, I didn't either in the beginning. Like I said, I was just trying to emulate what I thought what other successful companies do. And you do that and you commit to it, and you'll find some things don't make sense to brand. Like I have 1,000 Medicare Peace of Mind mints in my vault in my office that I don't know what to do with at this point. I'm gonna have to just give them away at some point. And so some things aren't worth branding, other things are. It's less about what do you brand and more about what does the brand represent. What does it mean? What are the values behind the brand? What problem does it fix, right? That's what all of our brand has to do. It has to be identifiable to what problem is it going to fix for me, and what's it going to feel like? What's the process going to be like? And for me, it's very difficult because I sell insurance. In insurance, there's no exchange of goods. Service. I'm not selling you a car where you drive home happy. It's not a TV you take home and plug in. There is no exchange of goods. It's in essence a peace of mind concept, which is why I named my agency Medicare Peace of Mind, which at the time I didn't know. So if you're out there and you're thinking, how do I brand something? Probably the most common one out there is using your name. And here's why I chose not to use my name, is because at some point things should change, and I might not want to run my company anymore. And if I want to exit my company, if I am the identity of the company, it's less valuable than if the company runs without me. And so part of that was creating a brand name that when I exit, if I exit, which I don't anticipate doing, I love what I do, But if and when I exit, my brand is more valuable, and my book of business is more valuable because of the brand I've established, because of the reputation, all those things. So branding, if you're going to be in business, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, brand is everything.
No, for sure. And I mean, we can kind of attest to that because that's kind of why, like us, we're in receptionist media.
I think I was just going to say, I think it's really like impactful what you said at the beginning. Like when you're starting out, you don't know what to do. So you kind of just look at what the big dogs are doing and kind of just like follow what they're doing. Like, I mean, that's not a terrible place to start. Like that's, if you see something that's working for somebody else and you're barely starting out, you don't know where you're at, what to do. That's a pretty good step to just start just take that first step, and then you can kind of see what works for you and your business, and then kind of go from there.
There's tools with Facebook and YouTube that you can look up whoever the best brand of whatever you're trying to do is. If you're looking for the best podcast, you can find what those are, and you can literally go in and see what ads they're running and which ads are performing, and you can literally copy what they're doing. Now you have to understand, if you're going to copy something like that, make sure you have the back end in place, because if you're not ready for one lead, what are you going to do if 100 leads call you? And so before you turn a spigot on like something like that, make sure you do your homework a little bit and watch some YouTube videos, watch podcasts like this, that you get a bunch of information. Don't get too much, that you can get killed by analysis paralysis. One of my great strengths is I've learned to have the fire, ready, aim mentality instead of the ready, aim, fire mentality. So the faster you take action, the faster you move towards the target, the more successful the opportunity will be every time.
Yeah, that's good. So I guess before we get like deeper into it, so like for the people who don't know you that are listening to, like kind of like who are you and like what do you do?
Well, I'm from Colorado, and I went to school in Broomfield, Colorado, when it was a small town similar to what Fort Morgan is now. I've been in Fort Morgan 6 years. I've been in the insurance industry itself for 17 and a half, almost 18 years. And so now I own Medicare Peace of Mind. I own my own agency. In the beginning, I worked for somebody else, grossly underpaid and highly overworked for a long time. Took the long way in. I had a troubled youth. My early 20s were bad decisions, DUIs, trouble with the law, stuff like that. And it took me a while to get where I'm at. Now I am a business owner. With my current business, we'll be really close, if not hit 7 figures this year. And then we'll be, I have this new venture that I'm very confident that I'll have 2 channels that are at 7 figures within a couple of years. And then I'm gonna keep pushing. But yeah, where I'm at in my career is, in addition to helping my clients, so on what my business is I help mostly seniors with Medicare, but I also do health insurance, under 65 health insurance, on the Colorado Health Exchange, off the exchange. I'm licensed in 30 plus states. And so I really just help people navigate the world of insurance, mostly in the health and life and fixed index annuities, safe money concept types of stuff. I don't do homeowner and auto, that kind of thing. But I'm an insurance agent first, and so I serve my clients, but I've also transitioned to where I have a team of agents. I'm mentoring and building a team throughout the country of people, teaching them to do what I've done with the system and the processes and the plug and play. I just look for the right person with the right stuff, the right mentality, the right personality, the right ingredients that we can develop somebody, because unfortunately the traditional school is not going to prepare you for a life in entrepreneurship or insurance. And so that's what I do now, is I look for people to help get into this business, the same one I'm in, or people that are already in the insurance business, teaching them how to brand, how to create plans and systems and processes, and put yourself in a position to, if you do it right, you should double your revenue for a while. The higher your revenue gets, the harder it gets to double. But I'm in my 4th year now, and I've more than or equal to doubled pretty much every single year. So yeah, at this point, I either help people with insurance, or I help people get into or develop into a better insurance agent.
I think that's pretty important, kind of what you're saying, that you've doubled pretty much every year. So I'm sure for you to be able to do that, you had to have like pretty much big, scary goals. I think, like you're saying, you might have hopefully 2 businesses that can get 7 figures. There's a lot of people 6 figures scares them. So it's like it's like the whole mentality, like you got to start setting bigger goals for yourself too, and then that's where people, I think a lot of people get stuck at. They think too small.
Well, and life changes at 5 figures a month. 100K, you'll learn when you get there, if that's your goal. It's easier to get there than you think, but it's also hard to get there than you think. It's a lot of it is knowing the right person to unlock the hack that gets you first over the hump. But you'll find once you get into that realm, even though $10,000 a month sounds like a lot of money, it's really not.
It's not that much.
It's really easy to spend $10,000. And then what a lot of people do is the higher their income goes, the higher their spending habits goes, and really nothing changes. But you have opportunity, and you have more room for freedom, and that's really what I have now. Theoretically, because of the residual nature of Medicare and how the residual income of that aspect works, I could theoretically not work for a long time if I didn't want to, and my income wouldn't change. Now, eventually, it would. I mean, if you're not growing, you're dying. That's definitely part of the business.
Exactly. Yeah.
But in this business, there is a level of maintain, and you could theoretically build up to 1,000 or 2,000 clients or whatever. Some people take a long time to do that. Others not so much. But with that kind of thing, you could then stop at some point if you're happy. But most people that do that, complacency will ruin it, and they end up falling off the wagon. But then that's one of the things too, as you go through the growth challenges of going from self-employed or whatever, and you get to that next level of 6 figures, and then you're shooting for 7 figures. Like for me now, my eye is on 9 figures, because once you get the snowball rolling, it's easier to make a bigger snowball than it is when you don't have any snow yet. But it just takes that mentality first. I would say to have the right mentality, and then find a mentor in the industry that you want to be in, and copy them. Treat them like the big brother that you want, that you want to be. And then that's really the mentality that I've had, is find people. And it took me a while. For a while I was very arrogant. For a while it was very, I'm hyper competitive, so it's really about me and how far can I go, how much money can I make, how about me. And it's changed. At a certain point you'll find out that there's a certain level where money is enough.
How was that process though? Like you said, you're very competitive, so I mean, I'm assuming it had to be pretty rough for you, kind of to be hey, I need to get a mentor.
I still get to do what I want, but what changed my life was hiring somebody at a point when I just had my best year ever, and I hired a coach. To me, it was very expensive. They were trying to pitch me 3 hours for $7,500, and I ended up negotiating for 1 hour for $3,000 with somebody. But that changed my life. It helped me break the barrier that I had in my mind that I can't spend that kind of money. But it also helped me change it. It's not spending money; it's investing in yourself. And I've invested well over 6 figures in myself in the last year with coaching and events and other things. Being in rooms with people that are at a lot higher levels than I'm at, and you start to realize that you're not a big fish when you get into a room with bigger fish. And at a certain point, there's no limit to it. I mean, you keep getting in the right rooms, and that's the key. It's a cliche, and you're going to hear it from 1,000 other entrepreneurs out there, but it's true. Your net worth is your network. There's who you hang around. Take the 5 people you hang around with most, and that's who you are. That's who you're going to become. And so choose wisely. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of permanently friends and family that don't meet that criteria, but you certainly need to start hanging out with a mass majority of your time with the people that you want to become, and eventually you're going to outgrow those people if you do it right, and you'll have to find a new room to be in with bigger fish again.
So how do you make that switch, that from, because you said when you were younger you kind of troubled, we don't have to get into it deep or whatever, but then how do you go from being troubled and stuff like that, and then just flipping the switch, and then now you have your own business and you're pretty successful in a lot of people's eyes?
It's out there. So I mean, I got a DUI where I got a felony, and then I had a really good idea. I was working for a dentist's office, and I thought it was a good idea to write prescriptions for myself. And those two things created a barrier for me to success, or what I thought was a barrier. But in reality, I just had to be patient and wait for God to bring myself and the opportunity at the right time. And timing is really everything in life. But the process is owning who you are. So I don't wear my history as a badge of honor, but I certainly don't hide it. And I certainly understand that it was part of the growth process. Like one of my big statements now to my team lately is you have to go through pain to come out on the other side as a bigger, stronger, better person. And if you don't go through the pain, you're not going to grow. You just can't. It's impossible. You have to put yourself in positions of uncomfortable, positions of pain, positions that you don't want to be in anymore, so that you take the right action to get out of it. And that's hard if you're in the what I call addiction to a salary, and you're exchanging your time for money. It's really hard to transition to exchanging money for time. But when you're able to get over that hump, the first year or 2 or 3 are going to suck. Like suck. I can't put it any other way. It's not fun. Your family's making sacrifices. You're making sacrifices. You're not eating right. You have the crappy car. You have all these things going in. But eventually you get over the hump, and then you start to be able to buy your time back. And that's really where the power of do what I want, say what I want, how I want, when I want, where I want. Having that freedom within reason. I mean, you can't get crazy in today's world because you'll lose everything overnight. But having that ability to where, like I said, if I wanted to right now, I could just say, you know what, I'm not going to work for a couple of weeks. And I'm just going to go whatever. I could do that. Now, would I pay for it later? Yeah, because I'm going to lose momentum. I'm going to have to regenerate that momentum again at some point. And starting a train is harder than keeping a train going. But yeah, the transition is mental. It's not a physical thing. It's a metamorphosis inside your brain that happens when you accept that you're responsible. Like I wear this thing that says accept responsibility. I have one that says expand my vision. And then I have one for my agency to remind me why I do what I do. But accepting responsibility for both the negatives that you have, my negative attributes, I own them. I'm not proud of them, but I own them, and I work on trying to fix them. And if you do that, people gravitate towards that, and they're attracted to that. And that's really what the magic is in this world, is the more people that you attract, the more money you make. More problems you solve, the more money you make.
Yeah. Exactly. And then that's gets me thinking a lot, where you said we have to go through the suffering process to be able to come out better on top. Mm-hmm. But I just think like kind of today's society is a little different. Like they project to like not suffer, I guess, because I guess it's painful. But I mean, that's working out. That's what working out is. That's what everything.
Yeah. Now, when someone, like when I was a kid, you run down to get the video game, and the challenge was beat the game. Nowadays, you get the game and you instantly download all the cheat codes and all the hacks and all the other stuff, and it removes the process. If you don't get the process, you don't enjoy the end result. And so there's no way to shortcut that part. You have to go through the fire. You have to put yourself in a position of risk. You have to put it all out on the line. Because when I went into the field and walked away from my salary and my vacation time and my benefits and all those other things, first I bought a new house, which more than doubled my mortgage. Bought a new car, because I knew both of those things are twice as difficult to get qualified for on financing if you're self-employed than if you're employed. And so I did all that first, took all the equity we had in our first house, put it all in on a payment I probably couldn't afford. But that's what I had to do for myself, to put myself in that position, because that's when I perform best, is when I'm really under the fire. And so I have to simulate that situation for myself continuously. I still do it to this day. This time of year, every year, because I do it on purpose, basically, I put myself in a position where I have to bust my butt or I don't pay my bills. And now it's not just me. For the first year or 2 or 3, it's just me. I was a solopreneur. Maybe my wife helped make some calls and stuff, but I was a solopreneur. Now I'm an actual business owner that has a staff, that has salaries and families and other stuff that go into it, to where if I fail now, there's more people in the line. And that's probably the biggest thing, too, as you get into it, is understanding that it's not about you. And that's probably the biggest transition, I would say, if you're looking for where the transition happens. It's when you get over the hump and you realize it's very lonely at the top. What now? And you look over and you think, what was the top? You look over and there you see the other person standing on the real top.
You're just like,
and then you get to that top and you realize they were looking at the other top, and it just never ends.
Yeah.
And that's what you want, because if you get complacent with the top of the hill you're on, you become king of your hill, but eventually someone will take over your hill.
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Yeah, especially like nowadays where we just live like in a society that just wants that instant gratification. And we'll compare that with entrepreneurship being like so popular. Like people just want to be an entrepreneur just because it sounds cool, and you kind of pair the both together, and it's like they can't get through the hard times, like the first 1 to 3 years, like you were saying. They can't get past those years, so then they just end up quitting and then never end up getting over the hump.
Yeah, and we were just talking about it the other day. I was just telling Eric, I'm like the same way as you. Like I perform better under pressure because it kind of like when you don't got an option, like this is your option. It's like I was almost in the same position as you. With your house and stuff. Like I'm almost in the same position. When we did the leap, and because I think too, that's kind of when I perform. You don't got an option because I got a family. You got people are they're counting on you to perform. So it's like now there's
different pressure, right?
Yeah, for sure. Something I really want to get your take on is how do you deal with competition?
I don't think I have any.
Okay.
So, and the reason I say that, it's not that I'm arrogant about it. I just, in my business in Colorado, we have like 5,000 or 6,000 people a month that turn 65. There's not a lot of good agents out there, so there's plenty of fish to go around. That, and I'm very confident that I do things very unique brand, very unique message. And in fact, some of the competition in the area is using part of my name as part of their advertising, which please do it. All it does is advertise for me. I don't care. And that's the power of my branding is over time. In essence, at this point, I've built myself up to in the top 1% of all insurance. I mean, people in New York, people in Los Angeles, people in much larger markets. I'm in Fort Morgan, Colorado. I'm in the top 1% of all insurance agents for Medicare nationwide. So that's a testament to my ability to not think inside a box, but outside of a box and create my own box.
Yeah, there is no. Yeah.
Right?
There is
because you want to stay within parameters to keep yourself on the right direction. So it's really easy when you're driving a rocket ship. 1 degree off in aim will take you miles off from the target. And so it's really important. The bigger you get, the bigger your ship gets, the harder it is to become adaptable and move with changes. Totally. And so you hiring people is one of the most important things you can do, because that's the only way you're going to change from solopreneur to entrepreneur to business owner to CEO to hopefully at the end of the cycle is investor, where your job is to just point where your money is going to go make more money for you. And then virtually you're not really working anymore. You're just overseeing and driving the big ship, right? But yeah, each person watching this, listening to this, is going to be, you have a different goal. You have your own mindset. You have your own family, your own goals, your own mission. And so create that, whatever that looks like for you. And then, like I said, find a mentor, hire a coach. Even if you can only afford your Uncle Tommy, who knows more about real estate than you, and you want to be a real estate agent, pay Uncle Tommy $50 to teach you something. He's going to take it seriously because you paid him, and you're going to take it seriously because you paid him. And as long as you learn one thing and you get used to exchanging and investing money for knowledge that helps you shorten the learning curve, that's really the beauty and the magic hack of getting from bottom to the top, is finding the cheat codes, finding the people that'll tell you the answer. Because there's people out there that'll give you the answer that you need. It's just some of them will charge you a whole bunch and some of them won't. And you just got to figure out who they are. But that's another one thing I've learned too, is pay to fix a problem. If you pay money to solve a problem you don't have the answer to, it's way easier than trying to figure it out yourself. Way cheaper, way faster, everything about it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important what you said, like having that mindset that you have no competition. Because if you go into it with like thinking like, oh, I have this other guy doing the same thing I'm doing, and this other guy who's doing it a little bit cheaper, then you're gonna waste all your time just worrying about them and how you can be better than them instead of just worrying about yourself and how can I better myself in my business to not even have to worry about them.
Yeah, I've spent 18 months going around the country handing my competition what I use. Here's my brochure. Here. Go ahead, copy what I do. And what that does is, number one, I know they're not going to use it because they're too lazy. And number two, the ones that do are going to force me to innovate and make sure my stuff's still better.
So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win. Makes you better at the end of the day.
And don't be afraid of competition. Competition's good for you, but have healthy competition. Don't let it consume you, because I've been on that unhealthy side where it's my only priority. And there's not a lot of sunshine on that side. You end up just never satisfied. You're always chasing that, which is part of the hunger, and you don't want to lose that fire, because that's how you get to be a good entrepreneur. But have some kind of transition in mind at some point, that you're not always chasing the top of the whatever next hill it is. At some point, find the hill that you're content with, and don't let other people tell you where you should go.
Don't let them take your hill, pretty much.
Well, they can have the hill. Take this hill, and I'll find a better hill.
There you go.
Because that's what I've learned is, it's really easy once you start to figure out the game. It's really easy just to pivot and do something else and make just as much, if not more, money, and let somebody else think that they won. To me, I've learned is more valuable than trying to fight someone that will never lose. And so some people, in their mind, even if you beat them, they didn't lose. And that's someone that you're never going to convince.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that person.
That's what they say too, like never argue with a stupid person.
There's no end to that conversation.
It's never going to finish. Yeah. What's your take on like drive versus motivation? Because I have a thing of motivation comes and goes.
Well, motivation's a temporary spark. Motivation is if you're thinking of how do I start a fire, you need a spark, you need fuel, and you need oxygen. So in that cycle, the spark or the motivation is the spark part. The drive is the oxygen, and then the fuel needs to be whatever the reason you're doing what you're doing. If it's for your family, if it's for you, if it's for glory, if it's for community, whatever the motivating motivator is. But the motivation is temporary. Motivation comes from within. Usually people rely on an external source for motivation, but in reality, all good external motivating sources do is activate the motivation within you. So motivation is the beginning. Drive is what happens when the fire keeps going. But you got to have fuel. So yeah, what I would do is set an unreasonable goal, unimaginable to unattainable goal, and then set mini goals and targets in between there to see where you're on track for, and make adjustments as necessary.
What are some things that motivate you?
Me, at this point, it's changed to other people. So I want to get my businesses to 9, maybe even 10. If I can get to 10 figures, that'd be awesome. But 9 figures is where I'm thinking realistically is where I would want to run the thing to, so that I could pass it off to my next generations. But for me, probably my biggest motivator at this point is how many people can I help do the same thing? How many people can I find that were thrown away, given no chance to succeed? If you look at me on paper, there's not a lot of outs for success for someone that had the history that I had, make the decisions that I made, try to ruin their life the way I did. So yeah, the motivator for me now is find more people like that. Find the person. I mean, I want to help the people that are destined for success. I don't want to discount those, but I get more enjoyment now at this point of finding the troubled person, or the person on the rebound, or the underdog, or the single parent, or whatever it is that needs a chance, has all the right ingredients, is just waiting for that right opportunity. Because that's what I was at one point. Was lots of potential. If you've been told your life you have tons of potential, potential is undeveloped talent. And really all you need to pull potential out is a good coach, a good mentor. And so that most of us are one good coach, one good mentor away from every dream you've ever had of being so much closer than you think. And so, for my motivation at this point is finding people that want to make their life better, because the basic core principles of how I got my agency from 0 to 7 figures is the same principles that you can use to scale your life in spiritualness or emotionalness or togetherness with your family. You can be rich in a lot of different areas in life. And you got to find out what motivates you. But I've transitioned from, or it used to be money. It used to be money that motivated me. And then I got money. And I spend money. I'm not. To me, money is just a tool so I can make more money, so I can really do the things that are important to me. And so at this point, kids, I really love. I love coaching kids and stuff like that. So I try to be involved with that kind of thing. But as far as the business goes, I just want to see just how far I can take the thing.
That's really interesting because I heard a while back ago, when you're like really good at whatever profession you do, you're good, but then once you start teaching it, you kind of start seeing sometimes like how to like get better ourselves in whatever it is, because you start seeing like about
the holes in your game.
Yeah, the holes in your game to like innovate, to be better. So it's just like, it's interesting now. You're like, you want to help people to, you know, kind of achieve kind of what you've achieved, like financially, if that's whatever they want.
Well, it's all financial is just the end result of growth as a human. So when you really cross those thresholds of being a better person, having more integrity, learning how to work hard, learning to be self-motivated, those are all the ingredients that leads to the process where you open up the doors for growth as a human. And for me, that's the more important thing. Like that's where. Is it fun to watch someone be able to buy a car with cash that they could never afford before? Yeah. But what's more fulfilling is seeing them go from telling me, I hate door knocking, I hate working on the phone, I'm not a good salesperson, all these other negative things that they've been told their whole life, and seeing that person grow and develop and get over the hump, and then all of a sudden now they're a stone cold, crushing it machine. That's the rewarding part, is to see humans achieve more than what I would call potential. They achieve their destiny, if you will. That's really what I try to help people do.
Okay. So it's the Machine Factory, huh? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, in essence, what was happening is there's a lot of people out there that want what I have as far as information and knowledge and systems and all that. And I'm willing to help people. But what I'm running into now is there's a tug of war. There's 24 hours in a day. I have my family on one rope. I have my team on one rope. I have people out there that just need help on one rope. I mean, there's a bunch of ropes out there pulling me in different directions. And so I had to create a system for myself that I would still feel good about things. And also what I wanted to do was weed out the time wasters and the negativity and all that kind of crap. And so the Medicare Machine Factory, in essence, is an arm that allows me to get innovative and creative with how I can give back to the agent community without them necessarily have to move their contracts and be under my agency. Because, again, I don't want them all. I want to be a very exclusive club that every insurance agent wants to be in, but you only get to be in when you get an invite. To me, that's where I want to be. But, yeah, so the business model is designed for whatever it is. Someone just wants to make a couple extra $100 or $1,000 a month to pay for blank. You can use that. You can use this business to do that. I want to say easily. I don't like to throw around like money is trivial, but if you get in the right opportunity and you have the right skill sets and you have the right stuff, money exchanges hands when problems are solved. That's something I learned from a guy named Coach Burt. And so if you don't know who Coach Michael Burt is, you should definitely look him up. In a lot of respects, he's now this year who I've transitioned into, who coached me earlier this year to launch the Medicare Machine Factory. But the Medicare Machine Factory is about helping top 20% agents, insurance agents, mostly in the Medicare space, because that's where my specialty is, turn into top 1% agents, and the process of going from top 20 to top 1%. But yeah, that's what the factory is designed to do.
So it's like a training platform.
Right now, I've just launched in its infancy, so we have 2 boot camps this week that'll launch the whole program, and then after that, I've been going back and forth. It'll probably go off of demand at this point, but I'm either going to launch some coaching and some other stuff and mentorship before the annual enrollment period, so before October this year, or it'll be something for the first quarter of next year where I'll launch a full boot camps, coaching platforms, events, mentorships. Yeah, it just depends.
Oh, okay. And is that kind of going with your,
Excuse me.
like you trying to teach people and stuff? Is that kind of go with like the speaking events you're doing, like with 8% and all these other events you've been doing? Is that kind of part of that too? Like, you just want to get more more education. to
Last
people?
year, I had a vision that I was going to be building a big agency and having like 1,000 agents or more below me. And then the more I got into it, the less attractive that became. And the more attractive me being able to work with who I want to work with rather than me working with anybody that wants to work with me.
Yeah, you get at that stage you can kind of pick and choose, you know, you just don't want everybody.
Well, I want everybody that wants to be successful. There's a lot of people that say that.
But they don't really want it.
Well, not like they need to. And it's a skill thing. We've been taught in the society to say the right thing and do the right thing on paper. But when the nitty-gritty comes, a lot of people fold. And so that's where the rubber meets the road. And so that's where I look for. Because at this point, if I had the option between spend 2 hours with my 5-year-old daughter and my 2-year-old son and my 2 teenagers, or spend 2 hours with somebody that's never going to try hard enough to make it,
Yeah,
it's a really easy decision for me at this point. It used to be hard because I really believed that in my arrogance that you give me anybody and I'll turn them into a selling machine. But I've learned that there's some people that no matter what I did, they're not gonna succeed at this. They might succeed at something else, but this takes a certain person.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like the phrase. It's what is it? Hard work. The hard work with talent. You know.
Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
Exactly.
But I always added an extra sentence to that. What are you going to do when talent works hard? It's an unstoppable force, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where I think of myself. I try to put myself in that zone. Like, I have the talent. I'm going to develop the talent. And where I think I'm weak, I'm going to develop that talent too. I'm going to make it into talent. And then I'm going to work hard on top of that. And like I said, if you have that mentality, you really become unstoppable in other people's eyes, right? Other people look at it and say, well, it's impossible, or, oh my gosh, how do they do that? Well, you didn't see all the grind. To me, grind is better than drive. Grind is repetitive tasks or steps in the same direction towards an attained goal. Drive is just moving in a direction.
Yeah,
and you could drive in the wrong direction.
Yeah,
right. But you grind in the right direction because you know you're going uphill. You know you're going to the target. And so that's what I would change. Change your perspective from I don't have a drive, I have a grind. Hustle, grind, execute. Those are the three things that are in my office on the wall or that I look at every day.
So is that kind of why you kind of decided to go into like insurance, because it had that like sales aspect of it to just be as big as you want to be?
No, it fell. Most people, insurance finds them. You don't find insurance. Most people are introduced to it somehow. I wrote prescriptions to myself at the dentist office I was working at, and believe it or not, they fired me for that. And so I had a period where I looked for a job. First one that took me was a secretary job at an insurance agency. I didn't even know what a deductible was. I couldn't even spell it at the time. I was just trying to find a job. And so it was, in my opinion, in retrospect, divine intervention and God guiding me to, you're not ready, but this is the right place for you. And he put me through a 14-year school where I learned everything there was to know about this industry. And then I had all the tools that when the owner of the agency I worked for sold out and retired and waved at me and said, thank you. At that moment, I was able to found my agency, and it's really been, it's been a fun ride. It's been a fun ride.
Why'd you decide to come put your agency like in Fort Morgan?
My wife's family, her parents live in Fort Morgan, and she's been in Fort Morgan most of her life. And it reminded me a lot of Broomfield when I was a kid. I like small towns. I don't like the city. I don't like the way Colorado has developed. I don't like the people. I don't like the traffic. I don't like the mentality about it. But I do like the country. I like not having a line at the DMV. I like knowing the town. And so it's a good place to have a family. It's a good place to have roots. Why is my agency here? Mostly because it's easy. Like if I were smarter, I don't know, maybe that's not the right word. If I were more motivated by doing what's like going to make me the most money, then my agency would be Denver Metro, Greeley, Fort Collins, Loveland, somewhere where there's a bigger area. But I've proven that you don't have to do that. I can be a top producing agent middle of nowhere from my house if I have to be. It's just once you hire a staff, it's really hard to work out of your house because believe it or not, your spouse probably doesn't want you to bring an employee to your house to work.
Yeah, there you go.
So do you have to do like a lot of traveling back and forth to like those other, I guess, markets?
Yeah, no, I drive a lot, 65 to 80,000 miles a year. So I go through cars a lot and all that, but if you do it correctly, there's a reason why virtually everything I have has my logo on it. It's because you can write it off then.
Exactly.
It's a business expense. So, I mean, that's part of the deal is getting all of that, taking advantage of every opportunity so that you can dump as much money back into growth as possible. Because I would have grown 10 times as fast if I didn't spend the first 1 or 2 years trying to pull every dime I could out in salary rather than taking just what I needed and putting the rest back into momentum. And that's a hard thing as you're getting a little bit of success. Like I said, that $10,000 threshold, $10,000 a month, you feel like you've made it for about a minute or two, and then you start to realize you haven't. And then, like I said, each increment, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 a month. Different problems come up. Different things happen. Different responsibilities. But the farther you get into the journey, the easier it is and faster you can grow because you have more momentum behind you.
Yeah, I thought that was really funny, the whole thing, because I heard a video of you talking about people can't make money because they're over here, because there's nothing, that's just an excuse because you can go. I have a things like the money's on the street, like you got to go find it. Sometimes it's not going to come knocking at you. You got to go look for it.
Yeah. No, think of it like gold digging. All the gold miners in the gold rush. I mean, I would not even know where to start to look at a mountain and go, oh, there's probably gold there. But there was a process to it, and those that put in the work, put in the effort, maybe got a little bit of luck, whatever it was. But a lot of people quit on a mine when they were like
right
inches from
Right
hitting
before.
a huge strike, right? And then some other person with the dream and the hope and the ambition and the drive came in, and for them, most of the work was already done. And then for them, it was a gratuitous thing, but in reality, all it was they were willing to take that risk, willing to take that chance, willing to go out on that limb. And so, what have you got to lose? Worst case scenario is you go back to whatever you're doing now.
Exactly.
You can always do that. You can always find a job. In this world, if you have a decent set of skills and a little bit of integrity and a little bit of work ethic, you can get any job. But if you want to get to that next level, if you want to have unlimited income, if you want to have freedom, true freedom, then you've got to either be an entrepreneur, solopreneur. You can be an entrepreneur, so you can find an entrepreneur. You don't want to take all the risks, but you want to work really closely. There's a lot of people. There's people that own professional sports team. Ballmer, who owns the Clippers, he earned his money by being in the stream of Microsoft. Mm-hmm. Not even in the. He's not even the top end. He's just in the stream of it, and he's got hundreds of millions of dollars from that. And so there's 1,000 different ways to the path to success. Money is only part of it. So if that's what you're after, I mean, yes, does money make things easier? 100%. It also makes things more difficult. That's part of why it gets lonely at the top. Uh-huh. But yeah, if I don't know what your normal audience is, but the people that you're trying to get a message to, if they're looking for an opportunity to grow, to change, to develop, start with yourself. Whatever money you have, invest in a course, invest in training, invest in a coach, invest in a mentor, something so that you can get your skills up, because as you get your skills up, that's where the opportunities come into your lap, is putting yourself through that kind of stuff. And sometimes just hiring a coach, now you have someone that you're in a relationship with that's on the next level, that now you have a new set of friends to talk to, so to speak.
Exactly. No, exactly. And I mean, with all the stuff that you're pretty much talking about, I feel like myself that I've been through it, or I'm in those stages too,
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I feel like I'm right there with it. But yeah, so the audience is more based, like more business-minded people.
Okay.
That's what we try to do.
Good.
Because I think, that we have business owners that are people that are willing to take that risk, have a different gene, a little different chip. You got to be a little different to just be like, hey, I'm gonna go do this. Especially like you don't know if you're gonna succeed, if you're gonna have money this week or not when you're barely starting off. But a point I really want to get your something I really want to get your point on is how is being a dad and then running a business, because I'm doing it myself. I have kids, and I'm just curious to know. I always like to ask.
Well, if I was honest, which I'm going to be, I'm not as good of a dad as I could be, you have to pick one or the other. You can't be top of the food chain, top 1% in your industry, and top 1% dad. And so for me, I'm blessed by God in that He blessed me with a wife that's a top 1% mom and a top 1% wife. And so we balance each other out, and she definitely pulls more of the weight by far in the household stuff. And so for me, it's become more of a quality of time and a quantity of time thing. But I've gotten better. For the first 3-4 years there, I was really hyper-focused on building the business, and that was really my only priority, and everything else became, at best, second, if not farther back in the line. But today, I just got back from a week where I completely unplugged for the first time since I started my entrepreneurial journey, where we just spent a week unplugged in the middle of Kansas, just hanging out with the family. And so it's a challenge. You have to pick one or the other in the beginning, but the cool part is it's not forever. And eventually, if you do it long enough and hard enough and you have enough success, eventually you can flip the whole thing over, and then you're the one at every single soccer game. You're the one at every single parent-teacher conference. You're the one at every single event. You're taking, like my daughter, I take my daughter to school pretty much close to every single day. And so I find my moments in the schedule, and that's one thing. Get control of your schedule first, and then literally put it on your schedule. If you're going to hang out with your family for 2 hours, don't just say, hey, we're going to hang out tonight for 2 hours. Like, put it on the schedule so that you do it. And then when you're there for those 2 hours, literally leave your phone in the car, turn it off if you can. Obviously, there's some industries you can't do that, but parenthood and business can work together. So nowadays, I try to take my wife. We went on, I think, 3 or 4 of the events we did this year. I took the kids and my wife with me, and put them in a branded shirt and a branded thing, and you talk about business and you write the whole thing off. You do it right.
Yeah, and it seems like they're pumped wearing
they love
stuff.
it. Yeah. They love it because they feel like they're part of it, and that's really big too. Is you've got to have a buy-in from your whole crew, because if you don't, eventually, as an entrepreneur, a lot of divorces happen because you don't have that communication up front. And if you don't have a clear communication throughout the process, one person can easily go this way while the other one's going that way. But yeah, no, my wife keeps me grounded, much more so, encourages me, pushes me back into position to be a good dad. But yeah, no, being a dad at this stage of my life isn't the top priority, but is the top priority at the same time. So it's very important to me. And as they get older and older, I try to integrate them more and more into the business. But yeah, it's tough. There's no, I don't think you can do. That's one of the few things you can't do. And you have to do an or situation.
Yeah, because it's full time. It's always they always want to.
They're both full time.
They always want to do everything. So I mean, it's. Mm-hmm. And I always like to ask that because each time I ask it, I always like learn something for it because I mean, I'm in the process. So I mean.
My new favorite thing I found this last week was my daughter loves to do content videos.
Oh, yeah?
And so I was letting her, we were practicing, she was doing lines, and she was helping me create some Facebook ad videos and stuff. So that's another way you can do it, is just get them, bring them in the business if you can't separate from the business.
Yeah, make them interactive with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's kind of one of the things I do with like my daughter. So I always try to read something every day. So it's like I'll be like, hey, it's reading time, go get your book, I'm gonna do my book. So then I can kind of control her for a few minutes, before it gets too crazy. But yeah, it's pretty good.
It's a challenge.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because I know you said you have these like big goals.
Yeah, no, I mean I don't see myself very much like in different places. I'll have bigger businesses and I'll have more businesses because I fully intend on having multiple different industries in my portfolio, if you will. In 5 years, though, I should be one of the most well-known Medicare insurance coaches in the country. I should have a 8 or 9 figure insurance agency. I should have a couple of new things that I don't even know exist yet in the works. I try to continually innovate and create new opportunities for myself and others. But yeah, so I don't really see a lot changing other than doing what I'm doing on a higher level with more efficiency and with a bigger group of people.
Oh, that's great. It gets me thinking. I'm just trying to process the whole thing. It's a lot of info going in. So I was just
gonna say that's when you know what you're doing is what you want to be doing.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I'm not going to change nothing. Like someone would have to offer me an obscene amount of money to stop what I'm doing, like a really obscene amount of money.
Yeah.
Because it's not about the money anymore. It's about I love every moment of what I do, and then the money's not bad. I'm not wealthy yet, but I'm on my way that direction if I don't screw it up.
It's a process. It's
easy to screw it up.
Yeah.
It's easy to screw it up, and that's probably the discipline that it takes, and to keep the grind and keep the drive and keep the motivation and keep all that stuff and tune out the noise and not listen to your own self when you want to quit or take a break or take a day off or take a vacation or all those other things. It's important to do that, but it's also important to keep control, because it's really easy. Like this last week, I took a week off. It's really easy to just stay off if you don't have to go back to work.
Yeah, just be like, hey, let's just stay another week. Yeah.
Right. But luckily for me, that's not how my brain works, and I don't have to worry about that. Like I was chomping at the bit. I was up till I think 1 o'clock last night working on funnels and automations and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Because I'm way behind on that, and so now that I'm learning, I self-taught on most things, and that's one thing I'm working on right now. Is I paid someone else for their system. Again, I paid to solve problems I don't know the answer to, so they got a copy of their automations, and now I can just play with them and make them my own. And then in the process, I learn how they put them together, and I now can create new ones.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah,
well, that's great. So where could people find you? Like your stuff, your company?
You could Google search Joshua Youngs or Medicare Peace of Mind. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I think I'm on Twitter. I don't even use it, but I'm on there. Instagram, I'm getting better at using. I'm on TikTok. Medicare Peace of Mind is the brand. Our office is in Main Street in Fort Morgan, Kiowa, and Maine, right next to the Edward Jones office. But yeah, you can find me. We do a podcast every week as well, Medicare Machine Factory. But yeah, reach out. You can also call me. My cell phone number is 303-619-0750. Joshua at mmfactory.pro. I think if there's anything else, but yeah, Google search probably easiest. You find me in a few different areas.
Everything will come right up. Yeah, we'll put the links to all that stuff right there. But yeah, guys, I mean, if you guys should probably, I recommend going back and listening to this again. Even me, when I'm sitting right next to him, he's talking to me, and I'm still trying to process it. Think I'm gonna have to listen to it myself a couple times. But yeah, Eric, what do you got?
Well, I just have one quick question before we wrap up. What's one thing you want to be remembered by?
Well, my impact on not my industry, but on people. So everywhere I go, I want to be known as the person that made each person I interacted with lives better in somehow, some way, some form. Made them in a better mood, inspired them. I'm trying to avoid leaving any kind of negative, because I have a bad propensity and habit of being so focused that I can run people over at times, or I can be too aggressive or other things. And so I'm really working on having nothing but a positive impact with every interaction that I have, which is my latest growth challenge personally. But yeah, if I could be remembered for anything, it's my impact on making people feel better, and or helping them become the better version of themselves through coaching and mentorship.
That's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's pretty impactful, But yeah, Josh, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Appreciate it, you guys.
Thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule.
I'll have you on my podcast next, and we'll return the favor.
There we go. That'll be awesome. Sure. We'll be honored.
Yeah. So guys, we're gonna link all his information down in the description too. And thanks as always for tuning in. And just remember that an act of rebellion is to question.
Okay. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later. Thanks.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated.